Hello there and welcome to this session. In this video session, we'll discuss two things. One, we'll decode the CAT 2015 and we'll also discuss about CL proc mocks. What I want to do is to help you understand the logic and assumptions behind each of our proc mocks. My name is Jijo Srinivasan. I'm a mentor at Career Launcher. So like I said, we'll discuss two things. One is about CAT 2015, what we can expect. And the second is the logic and assumptions behind CL mocks. There are certain things that we know and certain things that we do not know. What are the things that we know? We know that there are going to be three sections. The sections will be time, QA will have 34 questions, DILR will be 32 questions, the verbal section will have 34 questions. We also know that this time, for the first time, there will be non-MCQ question. And we also know that there is a +3 -1 for the MCQ question in terms of marking. Non-MCQ is +3 and there is no negative marking. We also know that in DILR section, or maybe even for quant, we'll be given an online calculator. Right. But there are a lot of things we do not know. For instance, we do not know the specific areas tested within a section. For instance, we know that there will be 34 questions from VRC, but we really don't know how many RC questions will come. Or for that matter, we do not know whether there will be questions from para jumble, para completion, so on and so forth. Will there be any question in grammar? What will be the specific composition of the questions? Same is the case with DILR. How many questions of logical reasoning? How many questions of DI? If so, they actually give you a calculator, but we don't know how many questions are going to be calculation based. Within QA, we do not know how many questions from numbers, arithmetic, algebra, geometry, modern maths. The CAT never shares. I don't think they're going to share even this year. Okay. The second thing that we do not know is the number of non-MCQ questions. How is it going to be? Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be 3? Is it going to be 10? Which is going to be disaster. But we really don't know. And the third thing that we don't know is the level of difficulty. How difficult is the paper going to be? So CAT 2014, for those of you who have taken it, at least heard about it, I'm sure you have, they said that this was probably the easiest of the CAT paper in the recent years. Will that continue, or will it be really tough? Will it be little difficult? These are the things we do not know. So we need some answers. The questions that we need to answer are three. Number one, the number of non-MCQ questions. Number two, the level of difficulty of the paper, also level of difficulty of each section. For example, QA, DI, and there is VA. Which will be more difficult? Will VA be more difficult? Is the DI is going to be moderate? We do not know about this, so we need an answer to that question. The third is, what will be the composition of questions in each of these areas or each of these sections, right? So we do not know that as well. But the real question is, does this matter? Do we really have to care about these questions? The answer is, for you, it's a no. Because at the end of the day, CAT is a relative test. So whatever is the difficult level of the paper, if it is high, the cutoff will be low. If the paper is easy, the cutoff will be high. Whatever the challenges the CAT is going to throw at you, that's the same challenge every single test taker is facing. So at the end of the day, what you have to do is look at each question, handle them, and get the right answer. Because at the end of the day, CAT is a set of questions, and marks is going to come if you answer these questions correctly, right? But for us, when we say us, we're talking about Career Launcher as an organization. The answer is yes, these matter, because we have a responsibility, and the responsibility is to give you mocks that are relevant. If you don't predict the CAT, or if you don't make some logical prediction about the CAT, how can we give mocks that are relevant, right? So what we're now going to do is answer these questions so that you understand what the thought process is behind creating these mock. Also, you'll get some insights into what CAT 15 is all about. So this is our task to answer these three questions. Let's start with the first one, number of non-MCQ questions. We have to take inspiration from other tests because there is no history in the CAT. One of the tests is probably a good test to look at is the GRE, which has got non-MCQ questions, or they call in the type-in questions. Right, and that's about 10% of the QA question. So out of the 20 or QA questions in GRE, what do you get? A couple of them, which is the non-MCQ question. And I'm sure that even the IMs is going to take inspiration from some of the tests. The significant percent of the question will be MCQ. So more or less it will be on the same range as this. So in each section, the number of non-MCQ questions is likely to be in the range of 2 to 4. So probably about a couple of questions, or two is what is more likely. It could even go to 4. Beyond 4, it is very, very unlikely. So we answered one question. That was easier one. Now we have to answer some of the challenging ones. What will be the level of difficulty? Where do we start? We know something, that the responsibility of CAT 2015 is with IMA. And this is Dr. Bandyopadhyay. He is a convener of CAT 2015, and is also a professor who teaches production and quantitative methods. And this is what he said. One of our concerns is scores in quant dominate the percentile rank in CAT. Coming from someone who teaches quantitative method, that's a surprise. But they want to change something. They don't want the quant to dominate, which was one of the reasons that this 2 sections was converted into a 3-section paper. It's also said they want to create a level playing field for all candidates, no matter what educational background they come from. This could probably give us some cue in terms of what could be the difficult level of quant, what would be the difficult level of, let's say, BRC section, but is not giving us much information. So we'll have to dig a little deeper. Let's go to the past. Let's start looking at CAT 2000 till 2015. There are something that we know. One is still about 2008. It was a paper-based test. From 2009 onwards, it became a computer-based test. And now CAT 2015, the test that you're taking will be a computer-based test. So let's look at this computer-based test and dig a little deeper. So if you look at CAT 2009, that was the first year it became a computer-based test. The test was conducted by a company called Prometric. The questions creation was the responsibility of IM. So the first year IM took the responsibility of creating the question. It was pretty challenging, by the way. So it was a window of 20 days, 2 slots per day. So you had about 40 slots where the CAT held. So that is 40 different question paper. And the same continues from 2010 to 2013. The questions were created by Prometric. The test was conducted by Prometric. Many questions between those years had previous CAT year's paper, about 2012. 2013 exactly is when it was a new set of questions, but the questions were created by Prometric. But that changed in 2014, because in 2014 IM took back the responsibility of creating the questions and gave the conduct of the test to TCS. TCS conducted the test in 2 days, 4 slots. From what was 40 slots, here it came down to 2 slots. That was a welcome sign. So the whole issue of normalization, or all the problems that was created because of normalization, is not there anymore. And also the fact that IM is again back. So that's back in action from 2014. So 2015, it's going to be still IM who's going to conduct the test. And in 2015, the test is going to be conducted in 1 day and 2 slots. Right. But then 2015, the creation of questions, the responsibility is with IMA, right? But when was the last time they had the same responsibility? It was in 9, 2006, 2003. 9, mind you, was a computer-based test. But these 2 were paper-based. So we have actually question papers of 2006 and 2003 which can help us. In fact, 2003 had 2 papers, because the paper got leaked and there was a repeat paper. So you have paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, and an understanding. A lot of the faculty take the CAT for understanding the test. They don't obviously take the test as a test taker. They evaluate the questions, look at the difficulty level, come back, report. So that's how we used to do between these once the CAT became online. So we do have a basic understanding about 2009. So probably if I look at these papers, maybe we'll get some insights. Let's see. So if I look at the past papers, now mind you, we are still answering the question of level of difficulty. So exercise that we do is something that I've explained here, is we assign a LOD value or a level of difficulty value to each question from level 1 to level 5, and then calculate an average LOD to understand the overall difficulty of the paper. So that's a process, and this is roughly the chart that we get. Here there's a disclaimer: 2009 is based on understanding. This process was not followed, obviously, because the question paper is not available, right? But for other paper, this process was followed. So what this means, for example, in QA, is in 2003, which is here, that was difficulty level was about a 3.5 kind of a paper. 2003 repeat paper was the highest difficulty level. 2006 probably was the easiest of all papers so far in that I am created. 2009 is more or less the same level of 2006. So if you actually look at a CAT, this was the difficulty level in the latest test. The earlier test, the difficulty level of QA was slightly higher, so it kind of dropped down. It's interesting to look at DILR. What stands out is 2006. There is also a reason, which we'll check, which we'll discuss a little later. So 2006 was the most difficult one. The rest of them is more or less on the same difficulty level. And if you look at VRC, again, 2006 was little the most toughest one, also for a reason. We'll understand this. The rest of the paper was almost on the same difficulty level. What it means, therefore, is there is no fixed pattern. So how will we make sense? Let's look at the paper, for example, like this. 2003 QA DI VRC. The difficulty level was like this. So it is like this. It was very different here and very different here. And if you actually look at the overall difficulty level of the paper, 2003, 2009 would have been probably the easier ones. 2003 repeat paper was slightly of higher difficulty level. The difficulty level of 2006 was the highest, but largely, of course, because of these two areas, which is DILR and VRC, not because of maths. It had the easiest maths, but the overall difficulty level of the paper was the highest. So what do we do from here? There are certain things that we can actually do. Is we know these are all the papers that was created by IIM. And we know that there are these difficult level of papers. For example, if you look at QA, there are a 3.5 paper, there's a 4 paper, there's a 2.8, 2.9 paper, there's a 3 difficult level paper. We can probably do a mix and match. What if a question is created with QA of difficult level from here, DLR of difficult level from, let's say, here, and VRC of difficult level from here? That is one paper. So I think that we'll get 64 combinations. That can give us an understanding of what is the range that we are talking about. So that is what we'll do now, is to create an A to Z scenario. A scenario A would be what could be the easiest paper based on the combination, which will be basically this from here. For example, let's say easiest would be for QA, it will be the 2006 one. For DILR, this would be probably 2003. VRC would be 2003. That would be the easiest combination. For the most difficult combination, the other extreme, which is Z for QA, is from 2003 repeat paper. For DILR, it is this paper, and VRC, which will be 2006. That's the range that we are talking about. Something like this. Different combinations of the section by the LOD will give rise to different scenarios. So we actually have 64 scenarios to understand the CAT. So if you look at these scenarios, this is something that I've explained just now. We have a level A scenario to a level Z scenario, and there are a lot of in-between scenarios. But what would be the most likely scenario? So we go back to what he said, the quant dominated in the previous CAT. That is something that they want to reduce, right? So 2014 CAT for QA was a little easy. It may not be as easy as 2014, but it will be slightly more difficult as a paper. It will not be really tough. So what we look at QA is about an easy to moderate kind of a range. A DLR likely to be moderate to difficult, also because now that you are given calculators, so you can expect a little more logic based questions. If you give a calculator, then ask a simple calculation based question, it does make sense. So it will be moderate difficult, and given that VRC is going to be in the range of moderate to difficult kind of a paper, this is what we believe is a likely scenario. So what we're essentially saying is this: the overall difficulty level, these are all the level A scenario is kind of a difficult level here, the highest difficulty level this scenario, and we are looking at a difficulty level which is about a 3.5 level of paper. So this will probably get to a better understanding. So these are the CAT 2015 scenarios that we created. These are the past CAT's actual level of difficulty. So the lowest would be actually lower than any of the CAT. This is very unlikely as a case. It can't go below this, right? And this is the highest, which was above any of the CAT. It cannot, highly likely that it's going to go. This is the range that we have. So that is the kind of range we look at even in the mocks, right? And the likely scenario would be something which is here. Towards the end of the session, I will tell you where exactly is a mocks placed. But before that, we need to answer one more question. So what is going to be the composition of questions in each of these areas? QA. So QA, if you can divide into modern math, geometry, algebra, arithmetic and numbers. I've taken 2003 leak paper, 2003 repeat paper, 2006 CAT papers, 2009 I've not taken because there are anyway 40 different tests and we don't have access to those questions. We only have a basic understanding. But I can roughly say about 2009, it was more or less geometry, algebra, arithmetic and numbers, more or less equal, a few questions in modern maths. So how does this look? Let's look at numbers. In 2003 leak paper, it was about slightly less than 20%. That increased. And then it came back to about 10% in 2006. How did arithmetic move? Significant? Not really. Then came back and became significant. What about algebra? Significant. Significant. Bloody significant in 2006. Geometry? Significant. Really significant. And significant. Modern math is like, I mean, we should be there. Okay, about 10% of the questions is modern maths. So really nothing much can be taken out, but no specific pattern. But we know that one or two areas is going to dominate: geometry, algebra, and numbers. And we should not forget arithmetic. Okay, it has had a significant impact. But these, out of the three areas, geometry, algebraic, numbers, some of them is really going to dominate. Right, so that's what we know. But mind you, there is no specific pattern actually. If I look at DILR, now I've looked at DILR in before you actually look at this data, let's understand what I mean by this. LR I've differentiated into familiar and unfamiliar. By familiar I mean, so these are the kind of questions that you have done in the classes or in the material. The things like, for example, arrangement, grouping, binary logic, and so on and so forth. The unfamiliar LR is a question that you're seeing for the first time, and you're staring at the question, and you have to do R&D to actually get to the answer. So that is the unfamiliar. Okay, the more number of these questions, the level of difficulty will increase. When I look at DI, I divide it simply into things that is based on calculation and things that are logic based. Now have a look at 2006. Unfamiliar is a substantial chunk and logic based is also a substantial chunk, which is the reason why the paper was kind of pretty challenging. So what you could actually do is this 20% from here and about 10% from here, 30% of the question, and then figure out among the rest how many can we actually solve. But if you look at the previous CAT 2003 papers, there were a significant number of calculation based questions. Now that you are given calculator, it doesn't make sense to ask calculation based question and give a calculator. This will reduce. I think what you will see is something very, very similar to CAT 2006 in this year's CAT. So that's a take. The most likely LRDS section would be one that is similar to CAT 2006 take. In which case, that is anyways the worst case scenario. If you have a lot of calculation based questions and the focus is not really on in interpreting the data, then in which case the paper will be easier to handle. But let's prepare for a worst case scenario. What about VRC? This is very, very interesting. Okay, so I've divided grammar based questions, vocabulary based questions. These are, you require knowledge to answer this question. And paragraph based question and reading comprehension based question is largely based on knowledge, logic. It does not require too much of knowledge. for example, reading comprehension, actually open book, the paragraph is there, you have to apply your mind and answer the question. And in grammar based question, you must know the rules of grammar if you want to handle that question. So we have a knowledge based question and logic based questions, right? When I say paragraph or logic based, this would be paragraph summary, paragraph completion, paragraph jumble, and so on and so forth, critical reasoning and all this, right? Everything to do with evaluating a paragraph. So first question is, where is grammar? It came a little bit in 2003, missing vocabulary. It came in 2003, missing in 2006. And if you just have a look at 2006 as a paper, the entire paper was based on logic, and that too, that questions were really pretty challenging, which is why the difficulty level of the paper kind of jumped really high. So the first question was, where was logic? And more we can expect logic driven paper, a significant number of questions based on logic rather than based on knowledge. So that is one thing that is likely to happen. We can also expect some experimentation. For example, in 2003 RC there was a poem. Okay, so there's a little bit of experimentation we can expect. And these paragraph logic based questions I explained here. In 2003 was para jumble, all the questions were para jumble. 2003 repeat paper, para jumble plus para summary. 2006 is para completion plus factor inference judgment. So every year one area came, right? Extra. Oh, interesting. So you can expect experimentation. You can also expect new type of question. When I say new, this would be things that you've never seen. But the logic behind answering the question is something would remain the same. Okay, so it'll be probably a tricky or challenging VRC is what we are expecting. So likely scenario is domination of algebra and numbers in geometry, but don't leave out any areas in QA. DILR mostly logic based unfamiliar LR, so that is how the composition of DILR would be, and VRC would be mostly logical based questions, right? So what probably would be a good score? Good score is like an ABC score, right? You want to get to the top score. So this is based on the most likely scenario. Would be about 60 to 65 would be pretty awesome in QA. 53 to 55, 53 to 55. So this is like about a 25 attempt with about 80% accuracy. This is hovering about 20 to 22, and same is the case with this, with about 80% accuracy in these two sections. So ideally in the CAT you're looking at about 25 plus, about 20 plus, and about 20 plus with reasonable accuracy is what one can expect. Now if you look at the CAT 2015 distribution of the overall score, looking about 165 plus, which will get you about 99 percentile, 130 will hit about 95 percentile, 115 will hit about 90 percentile, and 102 is basically going to hit about 85 percentile. This is again based on the most likely scenario. What is a good score, right? But we still haven't answered, where is CL proc mock, right? So let's look at this. Remember we created these scenarios after looking at the CAT papers of the past. So we created two scenarios. This is kind of the easy S paper that can come, probably the most challenging paper that can come, if at all it comes, right? And we have also created some kind of a likely scenario. This is based on certain logic, certain assumptions, right? This is a likely scenario. So what we essentially know is we have an upper limit and we have a lower limit. Where we do place a proc mock is somewhere here. We create this as a barrier. We don't want to unnecessarily burden you with tests which has got no connection to CAT. We don't want to create questions which are really tough, which is no connection to CAT. We want to create tough question, and we do, but that has got some logic applied to it, right? And the least difficult level is actually slightly one notch above the likely scenario. So we want to create mocks is slightly difficult than the likely scenario, and the benchmark that we keep is the highest is this. So we don't go, so we are well within the range of the CAT. That's how we look at our proc mocks. So this would be the level A scenario that we have. Like I told you, this is the level Z scenario. And we will also give you various composition of areas within a section. Right? So now the question comes, what is a good score? So let's take what is the score of 99 percentile? We said what is the score of likely CAT, and obviously since the level of difficulty of CAT of the CL proc mock is slightly higher than the likely CAT, the percentile score that is needed for a likely CAT will be lower. The score that is needed to get a 99 percentile in a likely CAT will be lower than these two scenarios. Alright? So we go by this benchmark to compare what is 99 percentile in actual CAT to what is to that of a proc mock. This is based on our analysis and statistics that 96 percentile in CL proc mock is equivalent to a 99 percentile in the CAT. What that means is, irrespective of the difficulty level of the paper, if you are hitting 96 percentile in the CL mock, that means that you are 99 percentile in CAT. You can go by this data. This is very valid data. We have got enough statistics to prove this. So about 96 percentile in CL mock would be equivalent to 99 percentile. Okay, now we are comparing this. So let's just, for the moment, don't worry about this. Okay, so we are basically looking at what is a 99 percentile in CAT. For a likely CAT, we said it's in the range of 165. So obviously this is slightly higher. The lowest range is the level A scenario. The easiest paper will be 140, and it can even go to 110 when we create papers at this level of difficulty. In fact, in mock 6, proc mock 6, we actually went slightly above even this. Okay, and that was 95. So, but that is a very, very rare things. We'll keep a range here. Now you've understood the logic behind the mocks. I've given you certain insights. Hope this is helpful. We also looked at how we are looking at CAT 2015. The one, needless to say, that CL proc mocks are going to be a most important prep tool from here on till the day of the CAT. Please take every mock and analyze and learn from every mock, which is very important. Right? Any suggestion that you have, most welcome. You can contact any one of us and mail us, right, in the email addresses that are already provided to you. So wishing you the best, and here is Gijo signing off. Thank you so much.